Hey everyone, how are we doing? My name is Tim Pongras and this is Focus on Detailing. Today's video is all about spending money to make more money through the power of vacuuming. In this video, I'm going to delve right into wet and dry vacuuming, in particular, wet and dry vacuuming with the Pneumatic George. I'll also be going over interior detailing and we'll be working on none other than the VT Commodore. So what do I mean about spending money to make money? Well, you'll soon find in the detailing realm that many customers out there will be wanting the shampooing treatment, and many cars will require that deeper clean that only a shampooer can achieve quickly and effectively. The Pneumatic George cost me around $800 and I haven't regretted the purchase ever since. This video will hopefully give you some insight as to why it's a great buy.
This is the interior that will be getting the attention. It's not the worst, but it's still bad and in need of a good deep cleaning, helping to draw out more embedded filth and bad odours. If I was going to do this, I was going to do it right. So after removing the loose mess throughout, I wanted to get better access to the floor, and the best way to do this was by removing the seats. Not an overly daunting task, just remove the plastic surround, unclip the electric components, and unscrew the 4 bolts from the floor. I also removed some of the plastics from the center to allow for easier cleaning, as a lot of the fur and filth hides in there. Now I've got a better idea of the job at hand and the satisfaction of knowing that a more thorough clean will be completed. Beside the seats is usually the worst spot. It's where everything falls down and hard to reach when the seats are in place, but now all that mess doesn't stand a chance. During this entire interior cleaning video, I'll be running over what you'll likely need and the best process to go about it. But that's not really the focus, as it's more about the George and what it can do to the interior of a car. I grabbed the Pneumatic George and set it up for dry vacuuming, a very easy setup. They have their separate hose that's shorter and lacks the water line. That was locked in by a bit of pressure and a simple twist. I attached the bag to the mouth, then placed in the filter. This had the rubber lip that perfectly seals it all up. Lastly, I placed on the motor unit and that was it. There are several attachments to choose from, such as the standard wide nozzle, thin nozzle, brush and broad brush. For this though, I started with the thin nozzle. It made it tricky as the suction was so good it kept grabbing, but good suction is kinda what we want. It was easily sucking up the immediate mess and drawing out that gross sand and dirt that affects the carpet's plush feel and overall look. This was done all across the carpet surfaces and fabric in the car. There was plenty of fur in here, but I do have a secret weapon for that, a rubber bristle brush. Simply gripping across the carpet, dragging the fur with it to an easy to vacuum up pile. This is all well and good for this kind of material, but when I shifted my focus to the vinyl, rubber and plastics, it was time to switch it up and use the brush attachments. The agitation of the bristles with the impressive suction of the vacuum helped to dispose of that dust stuck in all those cracks and tight spots over the dash. Once I was content that the dry vacuuming was completed, I moved on to a more thorough technique to clean and eradicate more stuck-on mess. This was done by using Focus on APC diluted 1:1 with water and a clean interior brush, as well as my Karcher SC2 steam cleaner. Firstly, I would spray the solution into the brush, then work it around the selected area. This helps to break down and emulsify the grime that would then be lifted with a microfiber towel. Depending on the surface would dictate how thorough you need to be. Sometimes a second going over may be required, but since I'm doubling up with the steam cleaner, this process became a breeze. There's a few ways you can do this. You can use the APC alone, APC with steaming, or steam cleaning alone. Since this car is quite dirty, the more thorough technique doesn't hurt. This was completed in the exact same fashion over everything, helping to clean, sanitize and freshen up the car. If you'd like a more in-depth video of the SC2, feel free to jump onto my Karcher review video I created a few months back. Since this video is mostly about the Pneumatic George, I think it only seems right that I turn my focus back onto it, as now it's time for what I'm sure most people are here for, the wet vacuuming. First thing to do was the easy conversion from dry to wet, taking out all the contents from before, then replacing it with the bucket filled with warm water and your selected carpet cleaner, then dropping in the filter and the motor, making sure to line up the suction hose down to reach the solution below. Lastly, the vacuum line was swapped out and the shampooing pipe was connected. It's now all set to go. Your interior should be relatively clean from vacuuming alone, but this step is what brings back the carpet and other fabrics to life. Flick the switch that operates the water on and give the selected area a good wetting. Do your best to avoid drenching areas that you'll know are likely hard to vacuum up. And be aware, if this was a customer's car, that you will need drying time. So less is more as long as it's doing the job well. The next and vital job is to agitate the surface with a brush. I have a drill brush which works wonders, saves time and provides a superior job. But a brush by hand works too if that's all you have. Now, after flicking on the vacuum switch, I could draw out all that gunk from deeper within the carpet. This is a very therapeutic job, watching all that mess get sucked up through the nozzle. But it's even better, and sometimes slightly disturbing, seeing all of it together when it comes to pouring out all the gunk from the bucket. The long hose is fantastic for reaching in the car. Just make sure you use your leg or even a towel as a buffer between it and the door surround to avoid rubbing and the unlikely event of causing damage. Make sure to go over the area multiple times to make sure you draw out all of the water you can, but you will be pleasantly surprised just how well this thing can bring that liquid back out. A prime example of this is when it comes to cleaning mats. I usually find myself drenching them with the pressure washer to blow out and saturate them before spraying with a cleaner and giving them the old drill brush treatment. And finally, sucking all those nasties out along with the copious amounts of water. One going over alone got the majority out, and a second going over was bringing out minimal. So all that was left was to leave them to air out and dry completely. Seats at times require the most attention. The fabric can be more fragile and have a variety of different stains that you will likely not want to know how they got there. To finish off this beast, I went over every surface with Bowden's own Farkoff to help sanitize the hotspots. Even after steam cleaning, a bit more cleaning doesn't hurt, in these times especially. Then, with focus on interior, I gave the vinyl and plastic surfaces a wipe over to protect them and bring back that nice immaculate look, not to mention leaving behind a magic smell. The seats, once dried, were placed back in, and to prevent further damage and mess, I added some fully 6 seat covers. The steering wheel, now looking a whole lot better without all that gunk and greasy look, got a cover too. I chucked in some mats as well to match the rest of the look. This car was almost at P-Plater spec, only missing one vital thing. One of our custom amazing smelling air fresheners. Done. This car was looking so much better now, removing that stale smell and ingrained mess throughout. Thanks to the Pneumatic George, it was over pretty quick and easy. Now to be fair, this VT wasn't the worst, but it did have another car that was a little dirtier in case you wanted more. Same process as the VT, just a few more going overs to make sure every bit of mess was drawn out. This obviously isn't just for detailing work, that's just the reason why I purchased it, but you can use it throughout your home too, as it has more attachments for those larger jobs across hard or soft surfaces. This machine is fantastic. It has awesome suction, great quality, and is perfect for those wanting to step up their cleaning game. One downfall is, it can be tricky to use in tight areas, as it's vital to make sure the mouth is completely flat across the work area. But this is just part and parcel with using a shampooer or wet dry vac. That's why when, and if you can, giving yourself as much space as possible, such as removing the seats, is really helpful. The whole process of changing from dry to wet is super easy, and both were perfect at what they were made to do. With a capacity of 15 litres dry, 9 litres wet, and 6 litres extraction, it keeps you going without constantly needing to refill or dump out the nasties. It can be heavy, all tanked up with water, but just think of that as a good workout. At around $800, do I think the Pneumatic George GVE 370 is worth it? 110% yes. Now on that positive note, I'm going to be closing up this video. Thank you all for watching and I hope you learned a thing or two. Don't forget to follow me on the socials and I'll catch you all later.